Breckenridge students. I'm Miss Hill, and I'm here with my dad.
Aww.
And we thought that it would be really special and informative while he's here visiting me if we spent a few minutes talking about Vietnam. I know it's what we're learning about right now, and what better way to learn than from a first-hand source himself.
Well, thank you.
So first, how did you get to Vietnam itself? What was like, did you volunteer? Did you enlist? What happened?
Well, I graduated from college. Sorry, it wasn't Central. It was Western Michigan University.
Uh-oh.
And at that
I'm
time,
moving us a little closer.
the Vietnam War was in full swing, and most major companies were not hiring anybody. So I, much to my family's chagrin, volunteered for the Army and enlisted. So I went through officer candidate school, and then when I got out of officer candidate school, Vietnam, of course, was still in full swing, and so then I thought, what better time, if I was going to go to Vietnam, what better time to go than after I came out of training. So then, again, I didn't make my family real happy at first, but I volunteered for Vietnam. So then I went to Vietnam for one tour.
How old were you when you volunteered?
I was 21.
21.
But I was one of the old guys when I got there. Most of the people that were doing the fighting, the actual forces on the ground, which I was with, most of them were 19, 18, 19-year-olds.
Wow. So similar to what Mr. Gilbert said when he was going over the Vietnam War, there was a lot of young men fighting in really rough terrain. It was really difficult.
It was very difficult for them and mentally, because a lot of what we fought was booby traps, and maybe there wasn't an enemy right there to take out your aggression on, but a lot of booby traps and mines. So it was very hard to see one of your friends lose a leg or an arm or maybe their life.
I feel like first we should address what you're wearing.
Okay. Well, this is the dress uniform that you wear. Obviously not one that you would wear in combat. And so this has all your markings of what branch of the service you're in. I was in artillery, so I crossed cannons. And I was a first lieutenant, so we have first lieutenant bars up here.
Oh, this bar.
This is bar.
Okay.
This was an Army medal. This is the unit that I was in at the last before I got out of the service, which was United States Armor Training Center in Fort Knox, Kentucky. And this sleeve has the person's previous unit, and this was the one I was in Vietnam, the AmeriCal division of the Army in Vietnam. So the uniform tells a lot about a person, and these are the medals that you get. You actually get a medal, but you can't wear all those big medals on your jacket, so you get one of these ribbons that you wear on your dress uniform.
So each ribbon I see symbolizes a different medal.
Yeah, like the Vietnam Campaign Medal. This one has, I don't know if you can see it, but it has what they call an oak leaf cluster on it. So instead of getting two of the same medals, you'll get one medal. And if you get the same medal again, this one happens to be a bronze star, and you get an oak leaf cluster to go on it. So you don't have two of the same medals on your jacket.
Yeah. I love your outfit. Thanks for wearing it.
You're welcome.
So just to put our ages in perspective, I've shared with everyone that I'm 23. And Dad, you were in Vietnam at 21.
Right.
So 2 years younger than I was, and there were men there even younger. So I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it was quite an experience. You'll learn an awful lot about yourself and a lot about your friends and the people around you, obviously.
So speaking of your friends, you still have friends that you served with that you're in contact with today, all these years later, correct?
I still have friends because all that age group pretty much went to Vietnam, all my friends. I was never actually there fighting with them. They were in different units at different times. But yes, we still. One of my friends is a helicopter pilot that got shot down in Vietnam. One of my other friends was in the 101st Airborne, and yeah, we still get together and talk about Vietnam from time to time.
Were you?
But
Sorry.
no, that's
continue.
okay. But most of the people that I fought with in Vietnam, I don't remember many of their names because I was an artillery forward observer assigned to the infantry, and we were always short one observer. So they moved us around a lot to different units that were in the field, and so you didn't really. I guess the good thing was you didn't really get to bond with a particular group. So if you lost somebody, you really, I mean, it bothered you, but it wasn't like it was your best friend. And most of the people, I knew them as, their nicknames, Buddy or, Cowboy or something like that. I didn't really know their names. And last week I was in Washington, D.C. and visited the Vietnam Wall. And I know a lot of those people are on it, but, I can't remember a lot of their names other than a couple of my high school friends that were on it.
Even though we're in Breckenridge, I live in Mount Pleasant, so does Mr. Gilbert, and there's a Vietnam War Memorial at one of the parks in Mount Pleasant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'll have to
Okay.
take you there.
Yeah, definitely.
Something I wanted to ask was we have learned in school a lot about the protests that were going on at home while you were in Vietnam.
Right.
From younger college students or people who were against the war. So my question is, were you aware of those protests that were going on, or not really so much when you were over there?
Yeah, we were aware of them because we could see publicity come from the States also. Not like today, we didn't have the internet or anything, but newspapers and articles and things like that. And yeah, it was very difficult, especially when, you're somebody like me that believed in, the United States and volunteered to go and serve your country, that didn't have that support at home. And in fact, when we did fly home after our tour, our 1-year tour of duty in Vietnam, as soon as we got to the States, we changed into civilian clothes so that we weren't traveling in our uniforms. People didn't know we were in the service.
Wow.
And that was, that's very difficult, and especially when you've been over there for a year or longer.
Right.
Yeah.
To feel like you had to hide that sort
Yeah,
of.
you have to hide, and people make fun of you or yell at you or stuff. And never happened to me, fortunately, but I changed into civilian clothes as soon as we got back.
What was so we've been learning about the physical geography of that area. What was one of the hardest things about fighting in Vietnam?
Well, one of the hardest things is the humidity
The
and
humidity,
the heat. We're just
the
not
heat.
used to that. We had special uniforms, and you're in water a lot because there's rice paddies and everything. So even the boots, they had the special jungle boots that had vents on the side. So when you did get water in your boots, the water would squirt out, and eventually your feet would dry. But people had a lot of problems with jungle rot, and they had to drink a lot of water because of the extreme heat and humidity. So that was difficult for us. I mean, it was down to the fact that if you couldn't wear socks, you're probably better off because they'd hold the moisture. Well, you were wet all the time. You were completely, when you were in the field and on maneuvers or walking, because we had very heavy backpacks and a lot of ammunition, your shirt was soaked the whole time because it was so hot.
So Dad has a booby trap story, the one that had fizzled out.
Yeah.
This story, it gives me chills whenever he shares it. So I haven't asked you before we started filming if that was okay, if you would tell.
That's
But
okay.
it's pretty intense.
Yeah. So it's hard for you to picture, but villages were you've seen some of the probably thatched huts and everything. This one particular village, they put an airstrike on it because we were getting enemy fire from that village, and so we had fighters come in, and then I called in artillery, and then we would go in and sweep the village afterwards to find out, how effective we were. And so, and it had been the monsoon, and the monsoon over there, it rains pretty much nonstop. It seems like forever. So.
Wait,
you know,
the kids had monsoon as one of their vocab words.
Oh, really?
So that's a buzzword. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, but continue.
Well, monsoons are not fun because, I'll just deviate from that for a minute, but we would sleep in holes in the ground at night in case we got attacked. But in the monsoon season, that hole fills up with water, so you end up sleeping in water all night, which you can imagine how that feels. So monsoon season is not fun. But anyway, going back to the story about the village, we were sweeping this village, and it came up to this one, we call them hooch, a thatched roof and walls. I was going around the edge of it under the overhang. As I stepped down, I felt my boot go down in the ground a little bit, and I could tell right away what it was. It was a booby trap mine, and so while my foot was on it, and of course there were a couple other guys around me. I said, "Guys, get away! I think I just stepped on a booby trap." And so I stood there. They got away, and I just leaped off to the side as best I could to get away from it. And I was one of the lucky ones that just smoked. Just smoke came out of the hole in the ground, and there was a booby trap. But I think because it was the monsoon season, it had been raining nonstop for a month. That's why. So that was a very near miss. Very lucky.
A close call.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Every single time I hear it, I always get chills.
I know, me too. That was a close call.
And then, real quick, how I just wanted to just share some of our family history. My grandpa, my dad's dad, served in World War II. So I think what I'd be interested to know how much of his military involvement influenced you joining the military, or if it didn't really.
Well, I had a lot to do with it. I think that's why I went in the Army, and I think that's part of why I went in the Army was the timing, because you couldn't really get a good job then. But the other thing was being part of somebody that had a dad that did fight in the military. I felt a strong commitment to the United States, and to do that. My dad was a fighter pilot in World War II, flew 100 combat missions in North Africa, Italy, and Sicily. So he was one of the lucky ones too. Flew 100 combat missions and came back. So yeah, I feel really strong about that. I'm kind of an apple pie kind of American.
We both are.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else you'd like to share?
Vietnam it's unfortunate that I saw the country as I did. It was a beautiful country. I mean, obviously it was pretty much bombed up, but the beaches and everything are gorgeous. And I know there's a lot of tourism that goes on over there now, but I don't know if I would ever go back. I saw a different light, but
Right.
I was one of the very fortunate ones. I learned a lot about myself and a lot of things I didn't think I could do, but obviously I came back with both arms, both legs, and I was much more fortunate than a lot of people. So, yep.
That was such a good video. Thank you.
You're welcome. You wanted me to be on it.
I hope we find this informative, and I'm so glad that you guys got to meet my dad. Bye.
Well, I'm glad you liked it too. I hope you liked it.